recording now. This will be the section of the video that's for uh, the Pimax, I forget what the hell this program's called, to be honest. It's the program that Pimax uses for, like, updating your drivers and all sorts of other stuff for the Pimax. I think it's like Pimax Experience or something like that. But anyways, as you can see, looking at the program, it's showing that I got the Pimax 5K Super plugged in and all hooked up and turned on. Let's go to device settings. Because I do not have the I do not have the base stations. I'm not using the lighthouse setting. The lighthouse setting would be if you have, like, the base stations that pick up, you know, the movement and stuff in your room. The 9-axis, that's what uses the, like, onboard camera system to figure out, like, movement. If the only thing you're doing is sim racing and iRacing, then you don't need to use lighthouse. You can just use the 9-axis setting. The light bar, I mean, that's really up to you. The light bar will just kind of make it so the front of the headset, there's like a little, like, light bar that goes across that kind of just illuminates part of the front of the headset on the outer side. If you really don't, I mean, it does generate a little bit of extra heat, not a massive amount, but I mean, if you want to turn it off to save power or whatever, I don't notice any decrease in performance or any change having it on or off, maybe besides just a slight heat difference. For me, I keep the refresh rate on 90 hertz, because keeping the refresh rate on 90 hertz, like, when you change the refresh rate, it also changes the FOV of the headset. I keep it on 90 hertz, which allows me to see a nice large FOV. I've never tried changing the backlight. I've just always kept the backlight at 100%. And then I don't have this gesture analog handle turned on. I just got it turned off. For games, I just keep it set on the common setting, and I just keep my common setting set up for iRacing. I have not tried the VR with any other racing simulator platform yet. I do have iRace, or I have iRacing, and I have Assetto Corsa, and I have R Factor 2. I've also got American Truck Sim, but I believe even though there's Assetto Corsa and stuff here, I haven't set up the settings for it. But I do know that with the common setting here, the only thing I got to do to switch this to get it ready for American Truck Sim, I think, is just turn the parallel projection on. But you don't need that on for iRacing, and since this ignore the random rambling that I just got on, because you don't since this video is only for iRacing, you really don't need to mess with this. Just, you can have parallel projection turned off. I've never had to turn it on, and if you do change it, though, you're gonna have to restart SteamVR. The render quality, I have that set to custom. I forget what minimum, balance, and maximum are by default, but I just have the render quality set to 1. I do keep the hidden mask area turned on. I also keep compatible with Vive only games turned on. I don't remember exactly why, to be honest, but I've seen other guides that say to turn these on, so I've kind of just set these settings the way they are. And as you guys have seen in my YouTube videos and my Twitch streams and stuff like that, I don't seem to be having any major issues, so I haven't really put any proper testing into really figuring out if I need these or not. Color channel, all channels. Contrast, brightness. I really don't mess with those. And then, but you can change them per eye as well. General settings. I do have Pimax Home set up. I don't use the Pimax Experience Home inside the headset. I just have Pimax Home set, and then Advanced right here. Advanced. I haven't messed with any of these at all. It's a very basic setup. I've kind of found that you really don't have to change a whole lot with this whole deal. Where I did change some settings was I'll click Start SteamVR here, and SteamVR will start up right here, and I will open up the SteamVR settings, and we're going to start with the general tab. SteamVR automatically picked up that it's 90 Hz refresh rate from the headset. I keep motion smoothing turned off. I set the render resolution to custom, and I set the resolution per eye to 100%. And this is why you don't have to. This is why you can run the lowest possible resolution inside the game, because the game is just gonna the game's resolution is just gonna show you. It's just gonna be the size. It's gonna be the resolution of the mirror image that's on your desktop. That's on your monitor. I should say. But yeah, the resolution per eye. This is the setting that's gonna determine what your resolution, what the resolution of each screen per eye is going to be. And by default, Steam wanted to set that to like 120 something percent or something like that. I turned it down to 100% because yeah, it's nicer to have a higher resolution per eye, but if your system is going to be bogged down and you're going to start dropping, if you're going to start, dropping frame rates and not having a smooth picture because you're trying to run it to like high of an upscaled resolution, just turn it down and run 100%. Run, what you're actually supposed to be seeing per eye. 2560 by 2104 is not a bad resolution at all to see per eye, and I'm not noticing any major screen door effect. So like the image is looking really good to me, and once again, you guys have been able to see through any of the content I've been putting out in recent weeks. These are the exact settings that I'm running on a daily basis, and I have not changed any of these in the past month. So this entire past month, where you guys have seen me do videos for the anniversary event and stuff like that every single day, these are the exact settings I've had every single day. Dashboard position, I'm not sure if that really matters. I've never changed it. It's set to middle. I keep notification. Well, I guess notifications are on. I didn't even realize that. I guess I'm gonna turn that off because I don't really want notifications while I'm in VR. Actually, SteamVR always on top. I have that turned off. I guess with these other ones, Steam VR Home and Pause VR when the computer is locked, I guess you can change these as you please. I've never really messed with these. The play area. I don't really mess with this much because I don't really have to worry about the play area since I'm not using the base stations. Dashboard. This is just more stuff that I've never actually tweaked. I've never touched any of these settings in this category at all whatsoever. But you got your dashboard position, show power options, show desktop tabs, allow app quitting from the dashboard, show settings tab, and VR dashboard on system button. I've never messed with any of these settings. Controller settings, which I have no idea what any of even how to work around any of these at all. Because I don't have any kind of like VR controllers or anything. The only thing I legitimately have is just the actual VR headset itself. and then I have my wheel and pedal set. So I haven't set up any of these controllers or anything for VR. Okay, video right here, very similar to the general tab, it looks like at first. But once again, you have your refresh rate, motion smoothing, render resolution, but then this is where things start to change a little bit. Underneath here, you had fade to grid on app hang. I don't know what that does, so I haven't touched it. I have never clicked this per application video settings. Advanced super sample filter is on. Overlay render quality is set to auto. And then at the same time, the pause VR when headset is idle is on. I've never actually messed with these settings down here. Audio. I haven't changed any of these. I've never actually looked at the audio section, to be honest. Startup shutdown, your normal startup and shutdown kind of settings. OpenXR. I do not use OpenXR. I use OpenVR. I do have OpenXR downloaded though. I do have OpenXR downloaded, and I've got Pimax XR. I've tried them, but right now I am actually getting better performance with the current settings I have. So in like this past month, I haven't changed any of these and tried going back to OpenXR. And this is just the developer tab. If any of these settings change, or if I make any major changes to kind of like get like way better performance, I can do like an update to this video. But yeah, these are my settings, at least for the VR headset itself. But yeah, the next thing that I'm gonna show is, well, actually no, that's it for this. I'll do a different video of the rig itself. This will just be the video for the for just the settings and stuff like that. I'm going to put this section first, and then the one that I recorded earlier today will be after, because I did kind of my ending spiel to the video, thanking everybody in that video. So I'm going to be sending you guys over to past Brian to speak to you about the stuff that I recorded in a previous timeline to this. So let's go ahead and travel back in time to talk to past Brian now.
For those of you guys that might be struggling, I always have my with your FPS, I always have my specs listed in the description of my videos. For any of you guys that are looking for a guide on how to set up your VR headsets, I highly suggest you guys look that up on Google. You're gonna find all sorts of different things. If you have a Pimax headset like I do, anything Pimax, I would highly suggest you going to the iRacing forums. I'm going to go ahead and get a link for it and post it in the description of this video, but in the iRacing forums, if you search for Pimax, you're going to be able to easily find a thread that is all about settings that different Pimax users use. I will post those because I'll post that link because that really helped me. That was one of the primary places that I went, and then pretty much any other generic setup guide for how to set up your settings in game for VR. But I'll go ahead and show you some things. But for me personally, I am running a Pimax 5K Super. Just so you guys do know, I'm running on AMD hardware, both for my CPU and my GPU. I know that is historically known as like a thing that like most people absolutely say you should never do. I've heard quite a few people say that. As far as VR and iRacing, most people will tell you that you basically have to run NVIDIA. For me personally, I do prefer AMD these days. So that's just what I'm running. For any of you guys that are running AMD, hopefully this helps you. And for those of you that are running NVIDIA, look, I used to run NVIDIA all the time. The last 15 years, every PC I ever built, every video card I ever used was all NVIDIA, 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 NVIDIA. Until recently. Much more recently, I you know, this newest computer that I'm using, this newest computer that I built, I switched to all AMD. Just strictly all AMD for, well, video card and CPU. So, without further ado, the resolution, this doesn't really matter so much for what you're seeing in the VR headset. This is the resolution of the window that is the mirror window to the iRacing simulator. So it has nothing to do with what you're seeing inside the VR headset, so what I typically do is I try to keep it on the absolute lowest resolution that I possibly can. Because we do not need anything, and I even record footage from the game, and even with like recording and streaming, I still have the display set on the absolute lowest resolution possible. Because your VR headset is not going to be using that resolution. Your VR headset is going to be using, you know, like for me, I'm using SteamVR, so I am using OpenVR, and iRacing, this window here does not set my display resolution for the headset. For resolution scaling, I am using the AMD FSR Ultra setting. And then for UI zoom, all this does is zooms in this UI. If I do 50%, it's really hard to see anything because everything is super small. If I do 300%, everything is big enough and clearly easy to see. Clearly, like easily. It's easily readable. Sorry, I can't fucking talk right now. For those of you that don't know, no, it's on my channel. I have epilepsy. I do get multiple seizures, I do get multiple seizures per hour, and normally one of the when I do get seizures, I tend to stutter. Sorry if it's going to take me a little bit to get through this. Please bear with me. And for those of you guys that do bear with me, I freaking love you guys. Thank you for putting up with my speech impediment. This other stuff up here, I tend to not really mess with it. If you're running NVIDIA, you're probably going to be using the SPS. Since I'm on AMD, I do not have the ability to run that. All of you other AMD users that are using VR, don't worry about the SPS. This is something that NVIDIA users use. For me, I turned off all of the, like, I either turned to low detail or off most of the stuff over here on the left-hand side. Most of the stuff is going to put more strain on your on your CPU. I did notice some bottlenecking on my CPU. That's why I dropped a lot of these settings. And you would think that having everything, like mostly everything set to low detail would look really bad, but honestly in VR it still looks amazing even if most of that stuff's on low settings. I keep cars on high detail because that's one thing that I definitely want to be high detail that I'm seeing. Since my 5K Super is currently set on the 90 hertz refresh rate. I set the FPS in the game to 90, and I limited the I limited the frame rate to 90. That way, the dynamic LOD and the frame rate limiter are both on 90. So if the frame rates go above 90, or if the frame rates could go above 90, it doesn't matter if my computer can push that or not. Well, I mean, it doesn't matter if the PC can push higher than 90 is what I'm trying to say. I keep it capped at 90. That way, I get as smooth of an image as possible with as little noticeable. And plus, at the same time, I don't want my computer to overwork itself. Why have the computer try to push higher frame rates if I can't see it? Because the headset's limited to 90. I do a max pre-rendered frames of 1. That does seem to help. When I had it on 0, I was getting a little bit of frame drops. This basically allows the it basically allows it to queue up like the next like it limits the amount of frames that the renderer can queue up, and it can help with like lag and stuttering and stuff like that. So setting it to 1 did help me. You don't want to set it any higher if you're not using SLI or Crossfire. The filtering I have on 16x, the AA I have on 4x, and then 0 right here. The rendering dynamic track data and rendering dynamic tire data, I keep those turned on. I do have shadow maps and cloud shadows turned off. I don't really notice actually that big of a difference. Even when clouds roll in, you still see the whole track like get a little bit darker, like everything's in shadow anyways. Night shadow maps, I do have those turned on, so I can see night shadows. I do think night shadows are really important, especially since I do a lot of short track racing. A lot of the racing that I do ends up being night races like this, and I would really like to have, you know, night shadow maps for that. I don't do shadow maps for the walls. I do try to make it so there's only like the number of lights, just 1, just to try to cut down on the lights a little bit. I don't do dynamic cube maps, no fixed cube maps. Shader quality, I try to keep that on ultra detail. If there's anything that if there's anything that you need to do to drop the quality a little bit of the shaders to make it so that you get better frames, you can definitely drop this like a setting or 2. But this is not the ultimate setting to change. The ultimate setting to change that will instantly free up a ton of processing power is over here. The show driver arms, that's up to you. 2 pass trees and high quality trees. There is absolutely no reason, and I mean, I don't know if people try to argue this or not, but there's absolutely no reason why you need 2 pass trees or high quality trees when you are driving inside the car. The trees being a lower quality, I mean, at all times, every single tree that ever exists around any racetrack, especially if it's an oval, trees are usually so far away from you, outside of the wall, outside of the catch fence, further away from the track. Some tracks do have trees fairly close, like Thompson here, but like, well, right now it's actually kind of looking at the replay, so these are the higher quality trees. But like, when you are inside the car and you're driving around a track like this, I don't need to see what those trees look like in HD. I don't. It does not matter what those trees right there look like in HD or not. Just the fact that you can see trees there as it's flying by quickly in your peripheral vision is fine. And that's actually 2 of the things that will really hurt your frames like the most, as far as putting stress on your video card. The foliage over here will also really stress out your CPU. But if we just look at this setting configures the detail level of 3D foliage, grass, and weeds. Off will render no foliage. Low, medium, and high will each render foliage at an increasing level of complexity. Lowering the foliage detail may improve frame rate. Turning foliage off or on requires a restart of the sim. And that's actually like the rendering of it being a 3D object, which means like, do you really need the game to render like 3D grass and weeds? Do you need the blades of grass to be 3D? Like, do you need right here on the grass? Do you need 3D blades of grass? No, you don't. Plus, at the same time, I think it only actually works on like a couple of tracks because I think it's something that they just put in new with Willow Springs or whatever the hell it is. So you don't even really actually need it anyways. But I keep motion blur off. I keep two-pass trees off. High quality trees off. I keep cockpit mirrors on because I prefer to have the mirrors in the cockpit. I don't use high detail mirrors. Just basic details fine. I do want headlights because I do some road course racing, and it'd be nice to have headlights from the road course racing. Headlights on the track and the mirrors. I don't really need headlights in the mirrors. Virtual mirror FOV, I'm fine with it being 90 degrees. I don't really notice too big of an issue by changing the FOV for the mirror. 90 is perfectly fine. Anti-aliasing, I use the FXAA. I don't use sharpening, distortion, HDR, heat haze, reflections, or SSAO. I don't use any of that while I'm in VR. At the same time, like, motion blur would be kind of weird in VR, I think. I do use video memory swap high-res cars. I use the 2048 by 2048 car textures, and I do hide car numbers, so people can run custom numbers if they feel. And then the replay. I don't really have everything maxed out on this. I don't really do much with replays in VR. But this is what I do have. I'm going to go ahead and skip over all this because I don't really do replays in VR at all. Where I do the replays is I will jump out of the game, I'll switch to my monitors, and then if I'm going to record something in a replay, I record something in the replay then. Almost every single one of my videos, when you see anything that's in VR, that is all being done like live at that time. Like even if it's a video, it may not be a live stream. But if it's a VOD on YouTube like this, then I'm actually, like right now I'm sitting in a race session just after running a race, and I still have the VR headset on. I haven't closed the game yet, and I'm looking at these settings. If I'm gonna record anything off of a replay, it's gonna be on my monitors. But anyways, this doesn't really mess with your VR settings. This is going back to drive. This is just your driving physics stuff. Except field of view. I don't know why this constantly resets. I really don't think this is going to matter. I don't think you really need to worry about the field of view because if I change this, it doesn't do anything. So it's like it's set in the headset and you don't have to worry about this one. Just real quick, if you want to pause it here, there's not really anything big here, but if you just want to pause it and look at these settings don't really have anything to do with VR. By the way, right here, show frame rate meter with. Set it so graphics and network is numeric, so you can see the information top right corner where you're like how you're whether you're right here. The R is for renderer and shows how much CPU time is spent building frames, and then the G is graphics and shows how much time the graphics card is spent rendering the frames. Those two numbers. You want to keep them. I usually definitely try to keep them below 10, but there's a lot of other people that say it's fine if you keep them below like 11 or 12 or whatever. I try to keep them below 10. There's other people that say try to keep them below 5. Just try to keep those numbers as low as you can. Don't let those numbers go up to where like they're showing like orange and red. Try to keep them down. Because that's just going to show you how much time it's taking for your CPU and your GPU to try to build the frames. You want to keep them down to a low enough number, since the number based off the amount of since it's showing the amount of time. You basically want that number to be low enough to where your frames aren't going to be dropping. That's gonna help show you when you're definitely when you're And then this, I don't have a base shaker. This is just mouse settings, video screen capture stuff. This is the graphics I already showed you. That's the replay I already showed you. Sound, the sound settings don't really I don't think the sound settings really matter much compared to or for VR in particular. I mean, you might want to mess with the sounds to try to get them tweaked just the way you like them in the VR headset, but this feels really good for me right now. And then controls are just whatever you feel like doing for controls. But yeah, this will be it for this part of it. I'm gonna show you guys like I'm gonna show you guys other parts of my build. I'm gonna show you guys other parts of, you know, the other settings to do outside the game. So thank you guys for bearing with me during this portion. I love you guys. You guys are awesome. Thank you guys for your support, and thank you guys for sitting and sitting through this and watching it. And thank you guys for having some patience with me. But I hope to see you guys, you know, when, you know, hanging out, watching the next video. If I helped you out, if any of this, you know, if any of this was usable information for you to, that helped you in any way, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching this, and I'm so glad that this helped you out.